So there's a pair of asymptotes, and then 2 pi later you draw the third asymptote. The zeros are in the middle of the period. For cosine, the positive a value is 1/4 of the period, which would be here, but there's a reflection over the x-axis, so this point becomes this point, and this point becomes this point. Then we connect. There's one period and another period. Okay, so for the back of the worksheet of B23, you have to write equations. Okay, answer the analysis and then the equation. Well, here it tells you, by the shape here, you know that this has to be either a sine or a cosine. But then it's saying assuming no phase shift. So that means that the beginning has to be at the y-axis. So then that's why I highlighted, or I highlighted the one period. I took the maximum and the minimum, found the midpoint, so from 1 to -5, the midpoint would be -2, 3 units and 3 units, halfway. That's where I drew the dotted line, the horizontal asymptote. So vertical displacement is 2 down. Period is 2 pi, so that means B is 1. Amplitude is 3, and no reflection, so the equation is right here. Okay, there's the amplitude and the vertical displacement. For 6 through 9, I know that this graph is either a tangent or a cotangent, this graph. But again, it says assuming no phase shift, so then because it goes through 0, 0, you know that this is a tangent. Okay, no vertical displacement. Why? Because it goes through 0, 0. That's your middle point. The period is 2 pi because this is negative pi, positive pi, so this length here is 2 pi. Remember, for tangent or cotangent, to find the period, it's pi over b. So we set it equal to 2 pi, cross multiply, and we get b is 1/2. Vertical stretch is 1/2. Again, how do I know that? Because the 1/4 and the 3/4, this is the 3/4, is at 1/2, and the 1/4 is at -1/2. So A is 1/2. No reflection. Here's the equation. Okay. For 11 through 14, we know that it tells you it's a secant graph, and so secant is reciprocal of cosine. So I looked for the closest cosine to the y equals to the y-axis, which would be this one right here. Okay, to find the dotted line, the horizontal asymptote, I took this point and this point and found the halfway point between those two, so that would be right here. And then I highlighted the secant graph that we're going to write as our first function. So it goes 2 units up. The pi, or the period, is 2 pi because this is -1/4 and this is 1 3/4. So the total is 2 pi. So that means B is 1. No vertical stretch, because that means the A of the original of the cosine is 1, because from here to here is 1. The amplitude is 1 for that function. No reflection, but there is a horizontal translation. Notice they're not asking you for that here. So this is a phase shift, and it moved pi over 2 to the left, because normally it should have been at 0 on the y-axis like that, but it's at -pi over 4 right here. So, excuse me, here's the equation. Sorry. The A is 1. This is horizontal translation, vertical translation, and that's it. 16 to 19. again, this shape right here, it's either a tangent or a cotangent, and it tells you here, you make it a cotangent. So here I highlighted the period I'm going to analyze for the equation. Vertical displacement none. The period is pi, because from here this is negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. So this is pi, so that means b is 1. Vertical stretch by a factor of 2. And how do you know that? Because they labeled the point, so here's this one. Pi over 4 and negative 2. And then reflection, yes, because tangent normally goes like this. But this one's a reflection of that over the x-axis. So that means a is negative. And that's what you see right here. Y equals negative 2, tangent x. 21 to 24, it says equation of the graph assuming no phase shift. So we know that this function here is either a secant or a cosecant. So to find out, I took this point right here and this point here and found the halfway point, the midpoint between this, and that would be negative 3 right here. Then I noticed that I could draw the sine graph with a negative a with the reflection over the x-axis. Okay, so the reciprocal of sine is cosecant, so that's why you see a cosecant right there. It went 3 units down, because that's where you have the horizontal asymptote. From here to here is 6 pi. That's one period, 6 pi. So b is 1/3. And how I found that 1/3 is by solving for b in this equation. No vertical stretch, a is 1, and there is a reflection over the x-axis. So that's where you get the negative 3, cosecant 1/3 x. For 26, they want you to write a sine function, and for 27, they want you to write a cosine function. Okay, so again, first thing I did, I found the halfway midpoint between this value and this value, and so it happens to be 3. That's why you have the horizontal asymptote. First I did the sine, so I know the green is underneath, so this would be the sine right here that I chose. So the a is negative, the amplitude is 2 because it's 2 from here to here. One period is, it goes from negative pi over 4 to 3 pi over 4, so it's pi. The period is pi, so it equals 2 pi over b. Cross multiply, and you get b is 2. So that's why you see a 2x. And then the sine has the beginning right here on the y-axis, so it has no horizontal translation, and then the vertical displacement of 3. Now the cosine is the red equation, so that one starts right here, and then you can see it up to here. So the a value, the amplitude, and the period are the same as sine and the vertical displacement. The only thing that changes is horizontal translation. So this point right here is at negative pi over 4. That's why I put plus pi over 4. Now notice I did not distribute the 2. You could if you like, and then put parentheses here and here. But you could also just leave it this way. 28. You have to pick the right one. So I drew, I found the halfway between 80 and 120, and it's 100. Now this is a cosine graph because it starts, on 0, 120, and it goes down and back up. So I know it has to be one of these two, a cosine. Okay? Now the a value is positive 20, so because it starts on the top. And so that's why I have plus 20. And that's the answer, letter B. On number 29, it asks you to write a sine function, right here, sine, if it's a voltage as a function of time. So v of t, instead of writing y, we're going to write v of t. the amplitude is 80, because that's the maximum. Here's the, the y equals 0. Sorry, yeah, y equals 0. And so it goes up 80, down 80. So the amplitude is 80, it's sine. And then to find the b value, you had to find the period. So the period ends right here. So from here to here, every line is 1/10, 0.1. So to get to here, that's 0.5, or a half. So I said it 1/2 equals 2 pi over b, cross multiply, b is 4 pi. And there's no displacement, vertical, and there's no horizontal. And that's it.